Okay, so what can we do in our lives when nothing seems to be flowing, right? Nothing seems to be working anymore. It's really common in the whole like young man masculinity or self-development world that we fall into this trap of thinking that if I just take like loads of massive action and force myself to succeed, then inevitably I will be successful, right? But obviously, if you've got a bit more experience going down that type of path, you begin to realize that despite trying to force results to happen, a lot of the times it just ends up making your life worse, right? So if you're trying to force yourself to like make money or make a business successful or to make a relationship successful or a project or a mission or whatever it is, you end up coming to the realization that a lot of forceful effort ends up turning your life in the opposite direction, right? It just brings more problems, more confusion, and unfortunately, a lot of young men, they end up giving up on their dreams, right? Because they've been told kind of this story of just force yourself to succeed, and you will achieve freedom, right? And one of the common problems that comes up when things aren't flowing in our life is money, right? And like I make these videos as I go through these problems myself. I've recently been through a massive like financial shift in my life and still going through that shift. And really it's the conclusion that, money, if you look at the root of that word, if you look at the etymology of the word money, it comes from moneta and Juno Moneta, which is basically a temple in Rome, in ancient Rome. Juno was the god of youthfulness and adolescence, and moneta, which is where money comes from, literally means a warning, right? So money is a warning. It's an advice of where we're stuck, okay? So if something isn't flowing in your life, right, and money is an issue, it's kind of pointing in that direction, like, look, there's a block here that we need to transform in order to make things flow again. Okay, and it's funny that Juno Moneta, the Greek goddess Juno, which comes from the Greek goddess Hera, which represents power. But Juno adolescence is also like a warning in our adolescence, right? And obviously, as young men watching these types of videos, we can really go back to our adolescence to look what happened there. Because if we had problems with our life force and our energy, things not flowing, right? We can begin to ask deep questions of like, where did I put my life force? Obviously, at those ages in our adolescence, our sexual energy rises, okay? So all of these blocks, when things aren't working with our life, we can look at flow, okay? That's really what I'm getting at here. Like, is our life force in alignment? Are we flowing? Where's the warning that money is trying to show us as well, if that's a problem in our life, okay? So really, like, I want to make this video of like, what do you do in these situations if nothing's working, nothing's flowing, okay? And really, firstly, it's to look at the warning, okay? And the warning is really asking you is, are you really in alignment with your true north, okay? Because a lot of our goals and a lot of our desires that we chase, it's not actually alignment with our soul's desire, okay? We have basic needs, but we also have a soul, right, which is part of us. So our soul is calling for something, but our basic needs is stuck trying to fight for survival or status or power or whatever it is, okay? And we have a misalignment. And a lot of the times, even in like the spiritual spaces, a lot of people, they might have like a spiritual goal, to help people or to set up this project and to do something spiritual. But a lot of the time, subconsciously, those goals are chasing basic needs too. Whether it's just chasing more money, again, more status, or a feeling of being in control of people. There's a lot of subconscious desires that aren't really looked at, okay? So then we come up again with the same problems in our projects, okay? Nothing's flowing again, or things are falling apart and dying again. And, if things are falling apart and dying, it's also to look at the perspective that things happens in seasons too, right? It's not necessarily a bad thing that things die. That's just a part of life, okay? But that death process is really to take away those pieces that are no longer in alignment with your life, okay? To let things die that weren't really serving, and that's fine. But again, in the self-development world, if we're so focused always on that fire and that passion and taking massive action all the time, you don't allow yourself to go through that death process. You don't allow yourself to reconstruct your being, right? To be in alignment with your true north, okay? Because when you are in alignment with your north, right? Think of how a compass works, right? All the energy rushes towards the north, points towards the north. And our blood, how the heart works is full of iron, right? Which searches for the north, okay? So you think of that blood flow, all the blood rushing to a place, giving the energy for your project, right? Because now you're actually in alignment and your iron is going in the right place, your north, okay? So really this question of flow, of getting things to work, of these blocks, firstly, get in alignment, discover like what is it that you're actually after, okay? What is it that you're dedicating your life to? Is it for yourself? Is it for others, right? Because this really brings me to like the story of like Parsifal, right? In the Holy Grail stories of Parsifal, of the Holy Grail question of him becoming and serving the Holy Grail. Like he couldn't get to that stage if he's just asking about himself, like how can I get the Holy Grail or whatever. But like he gets to that step by asking, how can you serve? How can I serve the Holy Grail? So when you're in service, and not just in service to self, but in service to the whole, then things tend to come, right? Opportunities tend to come, synchronicities happen, things tend to flow a bit more easier, right? And those blocks, they begin to be removed, right? Which is great. And really it's our soul in training, right? Of not just being in this selfish mode all the time. And it's great to take care of yourself, obviously, and you receive when you are truly in service, right? But it's really our soul's evolution that we're looking for here. It's not even about achieving like your project or your external goal. It's more about your training here, right? And your learning. I think a final thing in this quick video is like, let's say you're in alignment with your north, you're clear on what your project is, what you want to share in the world. If things still aren't flowing in that way and you're still getting these blocks come up again and again, one of the common warnings and the problems is that we feel blocked in sharing, right? Like coming back to the money problems and stuff like that as well. It's like money really is like a value exchange, okay? So it's like I give value and I receive value. So a lot of young men, they focus on building their value, learning more courses, more programs. But when it comes to sharing their value, the exchange part of the value exchange, there's a block, okay? So why is there a block, right? Why don't we share? And the reason is because like we've grew up in an education system and a society that has blocked our creativity, that's been designed to kill our creativity. Like if you watch my previous videos, like I talked more about like the I think the education system and the factories and work and stuff like that. And really that whole system has been designed to block off your creativity, right? For you to share your authentic self. So most people are afraid of who they really are, of their authentic identity, okay? Of the fear of being judged, the fear of being rejected, right? And that ultimately leading, like, I won't survive because I'm not accepted by the tribe or people don't love me or whatever it is, yeah? So really, once you're building that value, continuing, if you're building up all this energy and you're not sharing, right? Eventually, you become spiritually obese, right? You're consuming so much and you're not sharing it, right? So really, this whole thing is about flow and exchange. If something's not working in your life, right? It's like, where am I blocked? Yeah. Am I sharing too much and not consuming enough, right? Or am I not consuming anything and I'm just trying to share everything and I don't really have any value to give? Okay, there's equilibrium. Okay. So yeah, I think those are the main points of what I really wanted to share here. Just kind of take a breath if nothing's working, and even if you fix something in your life and get to like a new level, something changes and things begin to flow, like trust me, you'll get to a different stage and things begin to break down again. It's a natural process of life, and I'm still going through a new phase of that in my life right now, a new transition That's why it's like fresh on mind of what I want to share. But like, take a breath, calm down, and go inside. Like, look for the signs. If moneta is warning, begin to look at the warnings. Like, how is your body reacting? Like for me, like I've had a lot of pain in my shoulder the last few days because that's a physical warning sign, right? Of me not sharing enough, of me not being creative enough. And I wanna share more videos. I want to do that, but I felt like these blocks of like, no, I don't want to do that yet, or whatever. But you can just see in the common example of my shoulder here as well. Like, it shows up in your physical body. It shows up in your physical reality when you're not flowing. Okay, when you're not actually being of service. So yeah, there's a lot of different things I want to share on this, especially like on money and different things that a lot of young men struggle with in this age, in this society. But I guess I will leave a lot of it for future videos. But yeah, I guess the final message is just have courage in your own projects, right? Like, continue on that path. If you have something that you genuinely believe in, it's not to give up on it if there's the first sight of problems or things aren't working. Like, be committed to that. But also on the other side, the more receptive side, be open to listening to the warnings, right? To the things where things aren't flowing, because a lot of men specifically, we can get stuck in our ways, right? And we have to prove to ourselves, and it's linked to our success is like linked to our identity. And if I'm not being successful, what are the people who love me going to think? Or I'm not really being a man, or whatever it is. But you've got to be able to go through that fire, to go through that initiation of transforming yourself. There's no other way to do it, right? And if we try to hold on to the old identity, like, you're just going to make the transition way more difficult, right? So have courage to look inside as well. Okay. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.